Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Sever7, and today we are checking out the Kizer Feweed, and that's with the ultimate goal of seeing if it's worth adding to your collection or your daily carry rotation. Now, this knife did come to me from Adept Knives. It's going to go back to them. I don't get to keep it. Also, Adept Knives is giving you 20% off any knife in their store with the code WELCOME. 20% off is nuts. That basically means if a knife's $100, you get it for 80. If a knife is $200, you get it for 160, right? That's serious savings, guys. So click the link in the description and check it out after the video, of course. All right, so the designer is Vu Huyn Nam An, and the OEM is Kizer. I'm not going to apologize for potentially butchering that name because it's a hard name and I did my best. Now, taking a look at the knife, we've got like these quadrants of carbon fiber. These inlays look really, really nice. And this is a really nice cut of 80s camo carbon. And we have them on this side as well. This one's a little plain, but this one down here looks pretty sweet. So really big fan of the camo carbon fiber that they used. We do have nice, large blue thumb studs. They have a good angle to them, so whenever you go to flick it, you'll naturally land right where you're supposed to. We have a matching, like cobalt blue titanium backspacer. It does leave a spot for a lanyard hole, and it still wraps around. Very classy looking. Oh, look at that. I didn't even notice that. You can see the bottom from here, like from the front, and then it matches with the thumb studs. We do have a deep carry milled titanium pocket clip. And overall, it's got a really unique aesthetic, right? It doesn't really look like anything else I've seen on the market. A big fan of the Poon here, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's jump over to the ergonomics. This whole knife, despite looking kind of angular here and it looking, kind of like rigid here, it looks so like specific. Like you have to cram your fingers in certain places. I wear a large size glove. I can fit 4 fingers. I can hammer fist it easily. But this is probably like the most neutral feeling knife. Like the whole thing just kind of disappears in your hand. It's not the most ergonomic. Like I'm not saying it's like hand meltingly comfortable. It's just that the whole thing kind of disappears. Like I know I have a handle in my hand, but there's no distinctive pokes or prods or angles to it, which is weird because there's definitely angles and pokes and prods. But whenever you just wrap your hand up in it, it feels great. You do have semi-functional jimping. This jimping was definitely made for the front flipper. They get away with it a little bit though, with it being light jimping, because the jimping paired with the fact that you run into this Poon will be enough to hold you in place. So, and that gives you just so much leverage too. Like if you really need to power through a cut, this is going to give you the leverage to do that. Let's talk a little bit about this blade. So we are rocking S45 VN. That's going to be pretty balanced between edge retention and corrosion resistance, and it's tougher than S35 VN, right? So a bit of an upgrade there. We are rocking a full mirror DLC. You can kind of see my face in it. You can see me talking. We have a harpoon drop point blade. And what HRC does, for anybody that doesn't know, is HRC, not HRC, you guys know what HRC is. But for anyone that doesn't know what DLC does, is it'll raise the HRC of the part of the knife that it's covering to 67 or 68, right? It might even be more than that. Now that I think about it, it might be like 78. But it raises the HRC of the everything it's covering by a lot, which means dents, dings, scratches, things that would normally jack your blade up in everyday use isn't going to jack your blade up. It does remove a point or so of HRC from the edge, right? So the edge isn't covered in DLC, and the heat process of applying DLC lowers the HRC of your actual blade by, maybe a whole HRC. But I think at max the impact is about 1 HRC. So based on the blade geometry here, we definitely have a nice, I don't want to say stout, but definitely thicker than most. Hold on, let me back this. Let me back this train up a little bit. So I don't mean to say that it's thicker than most. What I mean to say is that it stays consistent through the edge or through the tip, right? Which means that this knife is going to be equally good at poking things as it will be at slicing things. We don't have a very tall blade, but we do have this kind of like faux belly, and that's going to make slicing easier. That paired with the amount of leverage you're going to get from holding the knife in this position means that you're going to be able to, go through boxes and stuff like that. It might not be like comfort wise, it'll be super easy, but this might not be the knife to tackle it the quickest. Not like a Spyderco would or like a Padre would, something like that. But this knife is more than capable of doing all of your EDC stuff. All right, so let's talk about this action, because this thing is... The acoustics are phenomenal. Detent is nice and snappy and responsive. I mean, if you just extend your finger, I'm going to try to fail it. Okay, I can't fail it. But if you even look at it while applying some force, it's going to go. Front flipper works great. Gives a slightly different acoustic. Does it? That one sounds... Yeah, the front flipper sounds a little bit deeper, more of a klachunk, whereas this is like a shink. It does take... It's a single shake shut. I'm a little cramped here, so I have to shake it twice. But if you get in there, this isn't my knife, so I can't do it. But if you get in there, take it apart, and lubricate the bearings, I'm willing to bet it'll be close, right? It'll be close because the blade isn't very heavy, but I'm willing to bet you'll get a slow, controlled fall, just with how little effort it takes to bring this down. These studs feel phenomenal because you just get right underneath it there and there. And it feels like you have a lot of leverage. Yeah, the action on this thing's terrific. I love it. Super fidgety, definitely a fidget beast. Right up there with like the Militaw, mini Militaw. And the acoustics are just so satisfying. Huge fan of this. Let's take a look at the choil here. All right. It's thick until about here, so you don't have the most sharpening to get out of it. Yeah, they didn't give you a ton of room. I know the plunge grind starts right here, but it's still really thick up until about here. So you're definitely going to get a smile out of that. Let's see where the stop pin is. Okay, so the stop pin is hitting behind, or yeah, the stop pin's hitting right, if you can see it. It's hitting right in there. So you could cut in your own sharpening choil if you wanted to. It wouldn't be a big deal. It's not going to have an impact on the blade, where the blade meets the stop pin at all. All right, let's talk about some specs. Overall, we're looking at 7.09 inches. We have a blade length of 2.98 inches and a blade to handle ratio of 0.72. Anything over 0.7 is acceptable. I will note they left a pretty criminal amount of room. Even with the backspacer, you could have squeezed 1/8 of an inch in there and it wouldn't have hurt nobody, right? The weight on this guy's coming in at 3.16 ounces, up against the milled aluminum Civivi Brazen, one of the best Civivis ever made. Up against the real steel Sylph, made slightly shorter because I rolled the edge. And then up against one of my favorite budget knives of the year so far, the Migron Gatov, which comes in quite a bit. Well, no, not really quite a bit, like maybe 1/4 of an inch. It's angled for you guys, so, you know, yeah, the angle's off a little bit, but here's kind of what they look like. So the Feweed is by no means a big knife. Very pocketable, very easy in and out of the pocket. Yeah, it might be hard to see it here, but the real steel Sylph is actually a bit longer than the Feweed. Yeah. All right, so what's the damage on this guy? Oh, sorry for the shake. So this comes in at $189. That's full retail for this. Is it worth it at $189? Well, let's look at what we're getting. We're getting S45 EN. We're getting a full polished reflective DLC blade. We're getting 4 separate slots of carbon fiber, and you know they can't just put the carbon fiber in; they have to mill out pockets, right? So that's additional time at the mill. We have nice matching anodized hardware. So there was some thought that went into this design. I'm going to say at $189, yeah. Like if the Militaw can do it at $220 and be best in class, this thing can certainly pull it off at $189. Now, I'm not going to say this knife is best in class, but I will say it's a fantastic knife. With the action, the acoustics, if you value those things, right? If you don't care about the action or acoustics and you don't care about DLC, if none of that matters to you, you just want an knife, then there's a million options that aren't this, right? You can spend $30 and get the no-nonsense Migron Gatov. I mean, it's a dope knife and it'll get the job done. But if you want a good functioning tool that also has some extras, like the carbon fiber and the DLC and the matching anno hardware, if you like those things, which I think most of us do, then at $189, this is a good value. Not only that though, but Adept Knives is giving you 20% off, which means you're taking $38 off the price, meaning you're looking at, instead of $189, about $151. At $151, it becomes a no-brainer, as long as you value this stuff. If you don't care about this stuff and you're looking at the Gatov, you know, like it's a whole snack, then even at $151, this knife doesn't make sense for you, right? But if you're like me and you want something that works really well and functions as an everyday carry, but also has some of the bling, this is a great option, especially if you already have a Militaw. Or if you like the Militaw but you wanted something a little more affordable. You know, this is what, $30 cheaper, right? And it still has the same flair, still has amazing action. Looks super aggressive. I love the poon. You could slap a poon onto anything and I'll love it more. So for me, this would be a daily user, not a collection piece. What about for you guys though? Would this make it into your permanent collection? Would this be an everyday carry? Or did this knife just miss the mark for you entirely? I'm really interested to read your thoughts down below. So don't forget to comment, like the video, subscribe if you haven't. Until the next time, guys, peace.